Hey there, welcome to the Chronicle Pregame Show. I'm Ryan Hoerger alongside Brian Pollack. New kids head for the Tobacco Road rivalry version number 2 of this year. Duke and North Carolina, they're going to tip it off Cameron Indoor Stadium, 6:30 p.m. on Saturday night. And Brian, this is a game that's really high stakes for both teams. North Carolina's 13-4. They're in the driver's seat in the ACC. They clinched the regular season title with a win in Durham on Saturday night. But for Duke, I'm not really sure if this game really going to play spoiler because they got plenty at stake as well, trying to secure a double bye in next week's ACC tournament. But at the same time, Duke head coach Mike Krzyzewski is not really taking that approach with this team. You were there yesterday. He really wants to focusing on beating North Carolina.
Absolutely. So what Krzyzewski said in the press conference was that he'd love to get the double bye because that meant that they won on Saturday. So a win on Saturday would secure the either number 3 or 4 seed for the Blue Devils, depending on what Virginia does against Louisville. But a win would secure that the Blue Devils get a double bye ahead of Notre Dame. Now, personally, I think for this team, that's a huge deal. Starting on Thursday instead of Wednesday, this team has really struggled with kind of a lot of games in a short stretch, especially with their short bench. So I think that extra day could really benefit them. But Krzyzewski was really saying that he wasn't talking to his team about the standings. They weren't concerned about the ACC tournament picture, really just concerned with beating North Carolina on Saturday, and what's a huge game.
Yeah, definitely. And Duke did that in Chapel Hill a couple weeks ago, even with an even shorter bench after Matt Jones got hurt earlier in the first half. They won 74-73, and really it was a game in which Bryce Johnson dominated the first half and the first couple minutes of the second half, but then he kind of faded away. North Carolina went away from him, and they started taking jump shots instead. So I'm not really sure that I think Roy Williams is going to make that same mistake again. I expect him to go inside to Bryce Johnson a lot, and that's going to be a lot to deal with for Marshall Plumlee and Brandon Ingram.
Absolutely, and the thing about what made Johnson so effective in the first game is they didn't even have to run a lot of their offense through him. He was just cleaning up on the offensive glass, especially in the early going. He grabbed 7 offensive rebounds in total, and Duke really just didn't have much of an answer. And then when it came down to crunch time, as you mentioned, they kind of went more toward the perimeter, away from Bryce Johnson on the inside. I think they scored 2 points in the final 12 minutes, even though he ended up with 29 for the game. So that just kind of tells you how dominant he was in the early going. And that really played into Duke's hands. If there is one weakness to this North Carolina team, it's their perimeter shooting. They're very deep, they're very well balanced throughout the court, but sometimes the 3-ball doesn't fall for them. Just 1 of 13 against the Blue Devils. That was arguably the biggest reason why the Blue Devils were allowed to hang around. I wouldn't expect that to continue again Saturday.
Definitely, and you also got the Tar Heels. They got Marcus Page, Joel Berry. They can shoot it well. They're just very streaky. So if they get on fire, then could be a long night for the Blue Devils, especially if they're able to complement him with Johnson inside. But for Duke, the Grayson Allen is going to have to drive hard like he always does, and Marshall Plumlee is going to have to be effective on the glass like he has been of late. And bounce back with 17 rebounds against Wake Forest on Tuesday after just 4 on the road at Pittsburgh. So his effectiveness on the glass, I think, is another big key for Duke in this game, especially not just the fact that Plumlee can get rebounds, but the fact that Plumlee getting rebounds means Johnson isn't getting those rebounds. And that's a big key for Duke to keep Johnson off the glass at all costs. So at the same time, it's a gutsy game for Duke the first time in Chapel Hill. It's another gut check game for them here, trying to get the double bye, trying to head into the ACC tournament with some momentum. So number 8, North Carolina, heads to number 17, Duke. Another Tobacco Road Showdown. ESPN's College Game Day is going to be here. You can follow all our pregame, in-game, and post-game coverage on DukeChronicle.com, on our Blue Zone blog, and at Duke Basketball on Twitter. For Brian Pollack, I'm Ryan Hoerger. We'll see you guys later.